Hey everyone, it's Bill. Welcome back to another episode of Acquisitions Anonymous. This week's episode is super fun because we go down under all the way to Australia to review a water inflatables theme park for sale. This one looks like an incredible place to take your kids. We dive into whether it's an incredible place to park your capital. So fun episode this week with Michael and I, but first, a word from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Live Oak Bank, the #1 SBA lender in the country by dollar amount. But they're more than the top SBA lender. They also provide USDA and conventional financing, tailoring each loan to their customers' unique needs. Whether you're looking to buy or expand a business, let Live Oak be your financial guide. With Live Oak, you get a partner who believes in your success and is willing to take the journey alongside of you. Live Oak's M&A financing experts lend across many industries nationwide. They also have over 30 industry-specific teams whose lenders are experts in industry-specific small business loans. Some of these include healthcare, seniors housing, and service contractors as well. With their dedication to efficiency, collaboration, and in-depth knowledge of M&A financing, they'll take you where you need to go. Visit liveoakbank.com/AA and make sure that's a lowercase a and another lowercase a to connect with a lender today. So again, that's liveoakbank.com/AA with 2 lowercase a's to find out more about Live Oak and to connect with the lender there, and tell them that the Acquisitions Anonymous folks sent you along. Thanks a bunch.
All right, we have a very interesting deal. And this, if you do not follow us on YouTube, this is the week to pick up following us on YouTube because there are some gorgeous pictures in this sim that we're going to review.
Stoner Park. Stoner. Oh, wait.
Too soon.
Oh, sorry.
So this week's deal is called Stony Park, which is an aqua and holiday park in Port Macquarie, Australia. Huge hat tip to one of our listeners who sent this in. This is the most gorgeous sim. He said he did not sign an NDA so we could show this on the show. This is the most gorgeous sim I might have ever seen, especially for a business this size. It is clearly done by a graphic designer, and there are amazing photos in here. Because what Stony Park is it's situated on a river. Floating in the river are what look like a winding course of probably 300 yards of inflatable jungle gym style water cannon, diving board blob things that you kind of go through for fun and time, I would imagine. It is coupled with the same thing on land, like this inflatable obstacle course slide American Gladiators style situation. You kind of have to see it to appreciate it. So hop over to our YouTube, or I'm sure you could Google Stony Park, Australia.
And to interrupt, Bill, I love this one picture, which is totally accurate. They have this picture of, there's this thing on the lake, which is like this giant floating bouncy castle thing that's maybe like a half mile long. Like this thing's enormous. And then above it is a picture of like 60 kids that look like 10-year-olds sprinting into the water. Like this is totally accurate, by the way. I took my son, who's 13, to one of these, and they had an accident on it while he was on it. We had to shut it down. My son was mad for like a week because he only got 10 minutes out of the 60. Anyway, we'll get back to that. It's one of the problems with this business.
So this thing looks like it would be exceedingly fun for a child and probably even for an adult. So it has been established since 1999. Stony Park primary focus is to create a world-class man-made water sports facility with complementary accommodations. So you can actually stay also at Stony Park, do this all day, and then come back and collapse into bed in your cabin and do it all over again. It is situated on 50 HA, which I assume is hectares, and purposely developed over the years. Stony Park is a multifaceted theme park business, includes the aqua park, the water ski park, and short-term accommodation, which is comprised of cabins, villas, and campsites, also food and beverage kiosk, and a soon-to-be launched action park, which is the inflatable land-based course I mentioned earlier. So again, you got to kind of see the picture. This is located in the highly popular mid-north coast of New South Wales, one of Australia's top tourist destinations. It is strategically positioned midway between Sydney and Brisbane. It's a 15-minute drive to Port Macquarie, a major regional center. This is a prime opportunity for an incoming purchaser to acquire an already strong performing business, plus capitalize on substantial potential for further revenue generation in a prime tourist location. It says it is for sale via an international expression of interest campaign, which closes at 4 p.m. on 24th of August, 2022. So this is in market right now, August 2022. You can bid on this on Stony Park. A couple more details. There are 6 cabins / villas. There are 3 bunkhouses, and there are 21 powered campsites on the lot. The combined turnover is 1.2 million, turnover being international for revenue typically, and their NOI is $377,000. I'm kind of shocked it's not more because I don't know how they built this facility on NOI of only $377,000.
So these, just not to interrupt, these are Australian dollars, or they have to be. So I'll translate that to US dollars. One Australian dollar is 0.7 US dollars. So
Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
so take 30% off all these numbers. So 1.2 million is actually closer to 900,000 US dollars.
Okay, so even smaller. So it's 250,000 to 300,000 US dollars in net. What I'm taking away is that these inflatable things are not that expensive, which is kind of cool. You don't need a ton of capex to build and rebuild your course. So this seems extremely cool. They've got some data about the tourism in the New South Wales area. This is a huge tract of land. I mean, I don't have a sense for how big kind of 50 hectares is, but to give you a sense, if you're listening, this would be, just from looking at the aerial photos, like the size of a shopping mall, like a small shopping mall, not a strip mall, like a small shopping mall, I would think. And it's got 2 what are clearly man-made long strips that look like a section of a river. One of which is where the inflatables park is, and one of which is where they do the power sports park with the boats and stuff.
Hey, Bill, one hectare is 2.5 acres, basically. So if they're at 50 hectares, that basically means 125 U.S. acres, basically.
U.S. acres. Perfect. Thank you. So to get into the financials of this, their revenue in 2018 was 930,000. 2019 it dropped to 762. 2020 was COVID year, 611. But then it bounced right back in 2021 to 986, which is higher than it was in 2018. So you like to see that. Their profit went from 261 to 245. And then in 2020, it actually jumped to 303. They must have been able to cut expenses when their revenue dropped. And then this year it's 362, again, Australian dollars. They've got a number of ad backs on here, which are a little bit tough to parse. Michael, did you have any success parsing these ad backs?
Nope.
No, it seems like they've got it structured in like a property trust, like the land is held separately, and I assume there's liability reasons for this. So you'd have to kind of unpack that. They also say they've got all these development plans to do a water ski park. They got great Google reviews. It's in a strong market. And the broker says that they're going to run like a real process here with IOIs and bid dates, and they call you out and all this stuff. So Michael, what do you think about this place? I would like to go there. It seems cool.
Dude, I would love to go there. I think the problem is, we've talked about kind of these type of things, like whether it's this is a retail business when it comes down to it. The problem is this is out in the middle of nowhere, like literally nowhere. Like it's 20 minutes outside of Port Macquarie, which is not a huge town as far as I know. But then the bigger problem is like, for the people that are coming from Brisbane or Sydney, it's 4 hours drive between each of those. Like it's just out in it's, I think if they had put this level of infrastructure within an hour's drive of Sydney or an hour's drive of Brisbane, this would be a totally different business. But these guys decided to create their own personal water park paradise out really in the middle of nowhere. And, if you're going to be taking your kids here, which this seems like 8-year-old to 14-year-old boy or girl, like heaven. Like above that, my 15-year-old has no interest. Below that, I'm going to be worried about my 7-year-old not coming up from the bottom of this lake. But like that kind of trip, like, are you really going to go drive 4 hours to stay in a shack and let your kids do that? Like, it's just, man, I wish they would just take this and they would just put this outside of Charlotte or San Antonio, because I think the turnover would be 5 to 10 times what this is. Like this place would just be absolutely packed if it was near San Antonio.
Yep. I wonder how busy it is. Like, I would, this is the question I would ask the operators. Like, what is your capacity? How many people can you put through this infrastructure every day? And how many do you actually put through it
Yeah.
every day? And I guess that's why they got the houses on site, right? Because it's probably so far away, it's convenient to stay if you're going to make the trip.
Yeah, I think that's actually totally right on. Well, I have seen, and I pulled up here on the screen this kind of floaty bouncy castle thing in like a calm lake. It's a freaking great business. Like I took my son to one as I mentioned earlier up when we were up in Montreal, and they have one in this lake, and you pay whatever $20 to let your kid go bounce around for an hour, and they were just shuttling through kids. They had 15 or 20 kids on there per hour. And then, of course, what happened was my kid was on there for 10 minutes, and then some kid managed to hurt themselves. And then they shut down the whole thing for the next hour, and we had to go because we had to go make an appointment. And, but like they were just pushing people through. But the difference between that and this is there were 7 million human beings living in Montreal, all very excited to have their 12-year-old go do this while they sat and drank Mai Tais around the corner. This, again, you come back to the problem. It's like, where the heck is this? It's just location, location, location just doesn't work. So, but it should be great
Yeah.
business. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well, it also eliminates the other thing that you got to be aware of in this business, which is liability. You got a whole bunch of kids bouncing and breaking their necks. You better make sure your insurance situation is all tied up. These people look like they've done it right. They've got everything in various interwoven trusts. So when Timmy's parents sue you, you don't lose the whole thing. But like, that's just a bummer. Like, periodically a kid breaks his neck at your facility. Like this, when you put enough kids through it, like this happens every year, which is kind of part of just doing business in this industry.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about the liability and tort kind of laws in Australia. Hopefully, they're not as bad as the United States. But looking at this, I mean, they're pulling out. What do we figure out? They're pulling out 150, 200 grand a piece out of this, or
A little
total out of
more,
this thing.
close to 300.
Close to 300. I mean, in the U.S., your liability insurance on this is probably 50 to 120, depending on like what's going on. I don't know what their history with injuries are, but this is a situation where your liability is going to just eat you alive on this stuff.
Yeah, you would think. But I do like, I mean, this place it's huge. I mean, you would look at it and go, wow, like this must be a whole facility. But then you look a little bit closer and you realize that if you let the air out of this stuff, you could like pack the whole thing up like a carnival in like a week. It's like
Yeah.
the lodging is basically mobile homes on permanent foundations, and all the activities are inflatable, which is kind of cool. Like really, the only thing that they've got here that's I would call permanent is the water feature, which does appear to be man-made. That they dug it out and filled it up with water. So I mean, I don't know if there's like a version of this that can be on wheels. That would be interesting.
It is interesting also looking just some tidbits looking at the sim here that are very interesting to me. You read the quotes that they have in here, and by the way, most beautiful sim ever. Like it wins the award for whatever the award is for Acquisitions Anonymous. But like the number of people that are listing these quotes and they're like very affordable, very cheap, makes me think that especially since these guys are owner operators, they've been attracting and not wanting to price it out of the market for a lot of people. So there could be a situation here to bring more money in. But if you have kids and you're driving 4 hours or someplace like this, you're targeting a budget centric kind of customer. So you may not have much in the way of pricing power. Another thing that's really interesting here, Bill, and we should talk about the merit of this. They have a bunch of stuff here as plans where they want to do like the tow rope style ski park. I don't know if you've seen those, but it's basically a bunch of towers where they run ski ropes behind it and you can ski 24/7 without a boat. Have you seen those things?
Yeah, they're very cool.
Very
It's like
cool.
a ski lift, but for water skiing, sort of
Totally.
like a tow lift, but for water skiing.
Yeah, there is one here near San Antonio. I have never gotten the sense they're doing very well for the capital investment they have, and they're just an expensive thing to run because it's not unlike a ski lift, right? Where you take people to the top of the mountain, takes you 12 minutes to do that, and then they ski down on their own. You don't have to pay to put energy into them while they ski down the mountain. These tow ropes, like you can only do 3 or 4 people at a time. So you've got that many people going in a circle and then hopefully they ski and then you move on. Whereas a ski resort, high-speed lift, you're funneling through 5 people every couple seconds. Big difference in terms of kind of your throughput ability.
Well, it says on here that they projected would cost 550,000 Australian dollars to put it in, and their pro forma shows a gross profit of $600,000 in the first year of operations, which shocks me, considering that would be double the gross profit, or at least the net profit, of the entire existing operation.
The other
I don't
thing,
know.
I don't want to, I don't want to keep pooping on this because it's so cool. But the other thing that's really interesting here, I don't know if you saw it, but the pictures of the manager's residence, and I just pulled this up. It's really nice for some people that were making, a couple $100,000 on this thing. And here's how they describe it. The manager's residence is located well away from the activities and tourist components of Stony Park, sitting atop a hill and overlooking the 2 lakes. The 430 square meter architecturally designed house comprises 4 large bedrooms with built-in robes, which I guess are closets, just in American English, 3 bathrooms, spacious open living areas. And then they have this picture of this thing, and it's really, really nice. Like, somebody has made this their retirement, paradise, and along the way, added the world's most amazing bouncy castle. So
Yeah, that's about 4,600 square feet by way of comparison. So like that's a nice, sizable house.
it's got a 4-car garage overlooking a lake. This thing is sick. But that may lead to who the right buyer is for this. And again, I think you and I are starting to see a lot of these businesses where it's like, well, this doesn't make sense for anybody unless it's a lifestyle purchase. Like somebody who wants to go live in BFE, Australia, and to them being an in and out kind of social person, helping, the guests come in and being excited and hosting them and managing your local staff and going through all those problems, and that being your lifestyle, seems pretty darn good to me. Seems like a good fit for them. For you or me to buy a subscale amusement park, which is basically what this is, resort in Australia, we should have our head examined.
Yeah, I'm not doing this. Some Australian that lives in the area though should definitely do this because I could see this being a great life.
I love also how they're like, you get 125 acres, and like, as a city person, that's a lot of land, right? I'm like, wow, that's a big tract. And then you look at this picture and you look at the compound and then you look behind it and there's nothing for like miles. There's just trees and grass. It's like, oh, land is not at a premium way out here in BFE. The other thing, and I don't know if you saw this, Bill, they have an aerial photo. Let me see if I can pull it up, of the entire site. And then a lot of the water looks like it's taken from a lake or a river that goes nearby. And it's interesting how much nicer the water looks in these man-made lakes than the stuff going down the little river, which looks like the kind of black, basically sewage refuge, I would think, sewage outflow. And then once they get the water into these little lakes, it actually turns out to look pretty nice.
Yeah, well, it says pumps, generators, oxygenation, diffusers, and power throughout the site. So they're definitely treating this water.
Yeah, look, I mean, this Australian river water here. Look at this. Look how brown that is. It's crazy.
Delicious.
That's nasty. That's nasty. So I mean, I think that's the other thing about this. Like, if you're going to be the type of victim to sign up for this, I mean, look at this. Look at how much infrastructure they list here. I mean, this is insane. Lakes, solemn course, covered ski docks, colored tournament stop blocks, boat ramps, a 2-wheel drive Nissan Ute, a Mitsubishi Ute, a rodeo Ute, water pumps, 40 air pumps, 40 air compressors. Like, you are going to have 2 people on staff all the time just changing the oil on these things. Like, this is just a lot of maintenance for what kind of revenue you're getting. And it looks
which
like,
brings up the point. You should ask very detailed questions about the SOPs in any business you buy, but especially in this one. I mean, because you could totally see that no one knows the peculiarities of air compressor number 7. You got to kick it 3 times before you pull it, right, to get it to go, except the owner, right? And like compound that across this entire list. Their aluminum punt weed cutter, their I don't even know what that is, a weed sprayer, a dual axle car trailer, the high flow water pump, the PTO water pump, all that stuff, right? Like if this stuff is not documented, which I guarantee you it's not, you better have that prior owner's cell phone number.
So if anybody looks at this, I will give you a prediction. And if I'm wrong, hit me up. I will send you a Chili's gift card. I bet you dollars to donuts there is a guy with the worst Australian accent ever who's about 65. He's been working there for 15 years, and he's the only one who knows how all this stuff works, and it's all in his head.
Yep, for
And
sure.
his name,
and that guy might not even be the owner.
He sounds like Crocodile Dundee, like on helium while drunk. Like that's what the guy sounds like. So you gotta make sure that you gotta find out who that guy is. But I guarantee this business has a guy like that, and it's the only reason the place doesn't fall apart.
For sure. All right. Well, we might not be buying it, but if I'm ever in New South Wales, I might be going to visit it.
Yeah, if you have 5 extra hours to drive someplace, it's like in the middle of nowhere. This is so adorable, though. I really want to take my son here, except I can't carve out the 4 weeks it'll take to get there. This is crazy. Anything else here we missed? Man,
I don't think so. It's cool to see. I mean, there are all kinds of businesses out there in the world. Thank you to the reader that sent this in. If you, or the listener rather, if you are listening and you see cool, fun deals like this, please send them in to us. We would love to talk about them on the pod. All right. That does it for another banger episode of Acquisitions Anonymous. We will see you guys next time.